Brown brings back its standardized test requirement. That is the topic of today's video. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me and how you can work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process on my website, which is collegemeister.com. So first came Dartmouth, then came Yale, and now we're at the third Ivy League institution that is reinstating for first-year applicants, in this case, again, for the class of 2029 and later, college class of 2029 and later, so this is the high school class of 2025 and later, the requirement that they complete and submit in order to be considered for first-year admission an SAT or an ACT score. All of these new policies are slightly different, and there are a couple carve-outs, a couple little exceptions here and there. Brown is no different insofar as it says that if for whatever reason a test is not available in your area, the SAT or the ACT, then in rare circumstances, they may waive the requirement. But basically, you should plan to take and do well on the SAT or ACT, just like I've been saying students should try to do all along during the test optional world in which we've lived since 2020. But now Brown is basically making it official that they want the SAT or ACT scores that you have earned and the ones that make you look the prettiest. Let's put it that way. And now, how will they be judged? Now, again, the Supreme Court of the United States of America made very clear in its opinion in June 2023 that Harvard and UNC, but particularly Harvard in this context, because we're talking about another Ivy League school, a school that in that case is test optional for several years more now, at least, was engaging in race-based discrimination as indicated through the different standards Harvard had for first-year applicants based on their race combined with their test scores. It was very obvious that Harvard had different standards. You know, if you were Black versus Hispanic versus white versus Asian versus American Indian, as to what they would be attracted to over in the admissions office at Harvard for first-year applicants. And they were vastly different expected scores. So that's now officially illegal. But that has not stopped Brown from explaining in their decision to rationalize to their fans why they're doing this. They're rationalizing it very clearly by saying the following. I want to read it to you because I do not want to misquote it. So bear with me, please. Starting with next year's application cycle, Brown will reinstate the requirement that applicants for first-year admission submit standardized test scores. This will accompany enhanced communication to students and school counselors, emphasizing that the test scores aren't, don't be scared now. This is basically what they're trying to say. Don't be scared that we're doing this. We know you're all going to be very upset, you know, in the terms of the common, typical student and or college counselor at high school. They are going to be upset because the typical student does not want to test, and the typical college counselor, or let's just say the average college counselor, is pretty much on board with keeping things test optional forever. Again, those are my words. That's not I went off script. I'm sorry, but basically, here we go. I'm going to finish reading the quote. Quote, "This will accompany enhanced communication to students and school counselors, emphasizing that test scores are interpreted in the context of a student's background and educational opportunities," end quote. It looks like what's old is new again, right? You know, I mean, basically Brown did not use the word race, but they're very much explicitly stating that your background, maybe not your background as in status, as in your color or your religion or your ethnicity or your sex, but your background as in your experiences and educational opportunities will determine how Brown views the score. So again, this gives Brown a heck of a lot of power to basically say that for certain types of students we're going to have lower standards for test score expectations. But for other types of students, we're going to have higher standards for test score expectations. It's repeated again in a very specific quote from the provost of Brown University, Francis J. Doyle III, who is a male, or appears to be in the photo. Quote, consideration of test scores in the context of each student's background will advance Brown's commitment to academic excellence and the university's focus on ensuring that talented students from the widest possible range of backgrounds can access a Brown education, end quote. So what, again, is happening here is, and I will talk about this more in future videos, is that Brown is elevating equity over objective, consistent standards. So basically what that's also saying, if you don't understand the word equity as it's used in that context, is that everything is relative at Brown. Relativity and equity are in many ways interchangeable. In this context, equity is a focus of the institution that is Brown University, so much so that it is willing to have different standards for different types of applicants to its first year class. And it will be based off of the powers that be and their concept of what is equitable and what is appropriate and is what is in line with the powers that be in their value system, which they're entitled to, and they will continue to ensure that they get to practice come heck or high water, and regardless of any particular Supreme Court opinion or ruling. So again, I'm not seeing something that isn't there. I'm reading it very explicitly. They're going to do everything they can to maintain a diverse and equitable entering first year class with each passing year. And to do so, they must, and they're being very explicit about it, maintain different standards for different types of applicants. It will no longer be based off of a box one checks in the race or ethnicity section of the application, or the sex or gender section of the application, but it will be based on whatever the heck else they can base it off of, which of course they're gathering plenty of information in the Brown application to base it off of whatever they like that can't be traced. Again, all of which is not objective. It's all subjective. That's how they'll get away with it, because you can be much more capable of achieving one's equity goals and enrollment goals in such a world and with such a worldview if one relies on relativity as opposed to consistency, if one relies on subjectivity as opposed to objectivity. Where does this leave you, regardless of your background, as in race, as in gender, as in sexuality, as in country of origin or birth or nationality, or your scores or your grades, or any which way that you can be characterized? You should try, or your student should try his or her very best to earn the highest SAT or ACT scores he or she can, because that will certainly, with every passing point you go up, that will certainly help one's chances of admission to Brown. All the other stuff is, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective and how much you would like to control the world, is out of your control. Brown is in the driver's seat. Brown is going to make the rules of how it is to enter Brown. And Brown is basically saying they're going to require testing, but they will have absolutely no standards for what type of scores are required, consistently at least no standards, but they will have micro standards depending on the other elements of your application. And that's how they're going to roll over up in Providence, Rhode Island. If you enjoyed this video, my name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me on my website. Please also give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment below and also subscribe to my channel. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and most importantly, stay stress-free throughout the entire college admissions process.